Have you ever been in a room full of people and said nothing, yet somehow felt like you were the most powerful person there? Have you ever wanted to command respect without raising your voice? If so, this video is for you, because today you'll discover how to outsmart, outmaneuver, and outclass anyone without saying a single word. These are the 6 Stoic rules for absolute power, taken directly from the timeless wisdom of Marcus Aurelius. But before we dive deep, let me ask you this. Have you ever been in love and felt like silence was louder than words? That tension, that awareness, that presence, that is Stoic power. So hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're seeking unshakable confidence, silent strength, and emotional control in your life. And most importantly, stay till the end, because mastering these 6 rules won't just change your mindset, it might just change your love life, your reputation, and your legacy. Let's begin. Story setup: the unseen emperor. In the great marble halls of ancient Rome, a man walked quietly among emperors and assassins, soldiers and spies. He didn't shout. He didn't flaunt his robes. He didn't bark orders like the others. Yet when he entered the room, conversations paused. Heads turned. Tension shifted. That man was Marcus Aurelius. How did a philosopher become emperor? How did he rule a violent empire with calm authority, without ever needing to dominate with words? He followed the ancient rules of Stoic power. And today, we bring you 6 Stoic rules to outsmart anyone, without saying a word. Let's begin with the first. Rule 1, control what you show. Master emotional stillness. Have you ever loved someone so deeply that just one word from them could either make your whole day or destroy your entire week? If you have, then you're not alone. Let me tell you a story, one that might feel a little like your own. There was a young man named Zane. He was in love with a woman who had the kind of smile that made you forget every reason you ever doubted love. But she was complicated and beautiful, yes, but unpredictable. One day, she would laugh with him like they were children building a forever together. And the next day she would turn cold, distant, dismissive, like he was just another name in her contact list. Zane tried everything. He texted more, called more, explained himself, apologized when he wasn't even wrong. He thought, maybe if I say the right thing, she'll stop pulling away. But it only made things worse, until one night something changed. She sent a message that said, "Maybe you're just too sensitive." No smiley, no warmth, no apology. Zane stared at the message. He felt that familiar wave rising: anger, confusion, sadness. His fingers hovered over the screen, ready to defend himself, to pour his heart out again. But then, he remembered a quote from Marcus Aurelius: "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and then you haven't been." He paused. He put the phone down. He didn't reply. He didn't chase. Instead, he stood up, walked to the window, breathed deeply, and in that silence, something powerful happened. He realized that her words only had power because he gave them power. That night, Zane made a decision. He would no longer let her emotional waves drown his peace. He wouldn't react. He would respond calmly. He wouldn't beg. He would observe, and he wouldn't explain his worth. He would live it. From that day on, something shifted. When she tried to provoke him, she was met with calm. When she tested him, she saw poise. When she pushed, he stood still. And suddenly, she was the one leaning in. She was the one asking, "What are you thinking?" She could feel the shift, that he was no longer emotionally available for manipulation, because he had embraced rule number 1 of Stoic power: emotional stillness. Now ask yourself, have you ever let someone's words break you? Have you ever reacted instantly to something that didn't deserve a response? You don't need to scream to be powerful. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is pause, breathe, and let the storm pass around you. That's when people realize they can no longer control you. And the moment you stop being emotionally predictable is the moment you start becoming dangerously attractive. Rule 2, master the art of indifference. Have you ever given someone your whole heart, and they treated it like it was optional? Like your love was disposable, only valuable when it served them? Let me tell you something that might sting a little, but you need to hear it. Her name was Alina. To Zane, she wasn't just a girl, she was the girl. The one who made every song suddenly make sense. The one who could ruin his entire day just by saying, "I'm tired." I'll talk to you later. But something always felt off. He noticed it in the little things. She would post stories that hinted at other guys, just vague enough to deny, but loud enough to make him feel replaced. She'd ignore his messages all day, then call at midnight when she was bored. And he kept playing along. Every time she pulled away, he reached harder. Every time she showed indifference, he responded with more love, thinking, maybe if I just try harder, she'll see I'm worth it. But she didn't. She only pulled further. And that's when Zane read this from Marcus Aurelius. You don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you. That night, everything hit him. He realized her games worked, only because he cared too much about the outcome. And that's when he decided to practice the art of stoic indifference. Not coldness, not cruelty, but calm detachment. He stopped chasing. He stopped overthinking every word, every emoji, every delay in her replies. He allowed space. He let silence do the talking. He chose, consciously, to value his peace over her attention. And you know what happened? The power shifted. Suddenly she noticed his absence. Her late-night calls returned. Her voice softened. Her tone changed. She started asking, "Do you still care?" But Zane, he wasn't the same anymore. Because once you taste peace, chaos becomes disgusting. That's the power of stoic indifference. You stop trying to control people. You stop needing constant validation. You understand? If someone wants to leave, let them. Let them walk. Let them ghost. Let them flirt with others in your face. Because the man who doesn't beg and becomes unforgettable. And I want to ask you something now, honestly. Have you ever begged for attention that should have been given freely? If yes, then maybe it's time you stop asking why they're cold and start asking why you tolerate the chill. Indifference isn't heartless. It's heart protection. It's looking at someone and thinking, I care about you, but I will never let you destroy me again. And when you reach that point, you become rare. You become magnetic. You become free. Rule 3, speak less. Let mystery work for you.
Have you ever told someone everything about yourself?
And then watch them slowly lose interest? It's a painful truth most people learn too late. The more you reveal too soon, the less people value what they didn't earn. Let me take you back into Zane's story. After detaching emotionally from Alina's games, Zane didn't just change how he reacted. He changed how much he revealed. Because here's what most men don't understand. The more you speak, the more predictable you become. And the more predictable you become, the less intriguing you are. You see, when Zane first met Alina, he thought vulnerability meant oversharing, so he laid everything out. His past heartbreaks, his deepest insecurities, his dreams, his fears, his wounds, his scars. He thought, if she knows everything, she'll love me deeper. But she didn't. She got bored, because there was nothing left to uncover. No mystery, no slow discovery, just full access, instantly. And that's when Zane read a passage from Marcus Aurelius that stopped him cold. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. He realized, if he kept giving away all his thoughts, emotions, and stories, without making people earn that access, he was giving them the blueprint to control him. So he pulled back. He spoke less. He stopped explaining every decision. He let his actions speak for his intentions. And suddenly everything changed. When Alina asked, "Why didn't you call me last night?" he just smiled and said, "I had a good evening." No justification. No details. No need for approval. When she asked, "Are you seeing someone?" he didn't say yes or no. He simply replied, "I value my peace these days." And that silence, that mystery, it drove her crazy. Because suddenly, she was the one wondering, the one overthinking, the one leaning in. Mystery awakens desire, not just romantic, but psychological. When people don't know exactly what you think or feel, they begin to project what they want you to be, and that projection gives you an advantage. It's the same reason people admire silent leaders. It's the same reason the man at the party who says the least often gets the most attention. Let me ask you something real. Are you giving away too much of yourself too soon? Are you trying so hard to be understood that you've made yourself boring? Because here's the truth.
The most powerful men are the most quiet.
Not because they have nothing to say, but because they know not everyone deserves to hear it. So speak less. Let people wonder. And watch how curiosity turns into obsession. Rule 4. Outsmart by observing, not reacting. Have you ever said something in the heat of the moment and later thought, damn, I should have just stayed quiet? We've all been there. The truth is, the world is filled with people who react. Very few observe. And those who observe, they win every time. Let me take you deeper into Zane's story, because this is where everything started to shift for him. After learning to stay emotionally still and mysterious, Zane faced his ultimate test. One night, while out with a group of mutual friends, Alina showed up, dressed like she wanted attention. She laughed louder than usual, flirted with another guy in front of Zane, dropped little passive-aggressive comments meant just for his ears. The old Zane would have exploded. Jealousy, arguments, silent treatment, all the emotional traps she was baiting him with. But not this time. Zane remembered a quote from Marcus Aurelius that echoed in his chest like a war drum. Be like the rock that the waves keep crashing over. It stands unmoved, and the raging of the sea falls still around it. So he watched. He didn't speak. He didn't react. He sipped his drink, smiled, and quietly observed everything. How her laughter sounded just a little forced. How she kept glancing in his direction to check if he noticed. How her body leaned toward the guy, but her eyes stayed on Zane. In that moment, he realized something powerful. Her chaos had nothing to do with him. It was her own insecurity playing itself out. That night, Zane didn't chase. He didn't confront. He didn't even ask her why she was acting that way. And guess what? She messaged him first. You were so quiet tonight. What were you thinking? That's the power of observation. When you stop reacting, you start understanding. Because most people tell on themselves, not with their words, but with their behavior. You just have to be silent enough to notice. When you're calm, you can read their micro-expressions. You sense their discomfort. You hear what's not being said, and that's where real power lives. So let me ask you this. Are you the guy who always reacts? Who texts back in 0.2 seconds? Who panics when things feel off? Or are you becoming the man who watches? Who observes patterns instead of chasing explanations? Because here's the truth. When you stop reacting, you become unpredictable. And when you become unpredictable, people stop playing games with you. Why? Because they realize they're no longer in control of the script. And that shift, from emotional reaction to strategic observation, it doesn't just make you attractive, it makes you dangerous. Rule 5, never argue, demonstrate through action. Have you ever tried to convince someone to see your worth, only to feel more exhausted and less respected? There's a reason for that. Arguing drains you. Action defines you. Let's go back into Zane's journey. By now, he had mastered stillness. He was no longer reacting to Alina's tests, no longer chasing her moods, no longer revealing everything about himself. But one day, she tested him in a way that cut deeper than usual. They were having coffee when she casually said, "You act like you've changed, but I don't think you're really different." Zane felt the urge rise in his chest, to explain, to justify, to prove that he had grown, to argue that he had changed, that he wasn't the same man who used to beg for love. But then he remembered another line from Marcus Aurelius. Don't explain your philosophy, embody it. So instead of talking, he smiled. He took another sip of his coffee, and he said nothing. Not because he didn't care, but because he finally understood. You don't need to tell people you've changed. You show it. Over the next few weeks, he didn't make grand declarations. He didn't post quotes about healing. He didn't explain why he was silent, why he didn't reach out, or why he seemed so composed. He simply lived the new version of himself. He went to the gym every morning, started building the business he kept putting off. He laughed more, slept better, spoke less, observed more. And Alina noticed. She went from "you've changed" to "who are you seeing these days?" to "do you even care about me anymore?" Zane didn't have to answer those questions, because his silence was speaking louder than any argument ever could. You see, most men lose power by over-explaining, by arguing, by begging someone to believe their words, instead of letting their life do the talking. Let me ask you this. Have you ever wasted hours trying to make someone understand you, when deep down they never really cared to? That's the trap. The more you argue, the more you lower your value. But when you act in silence, when you move differently, people are forced to adjust to the new version of you. or exit your life entirely. And either way, you win, so remember this. Don't argue that you're loyal. Be loyal, even when no one is watching. Don't explain why you deserve respect. Command it, lying with your actions, boundaries, and calm energy. Because the man who talks less but moves differently is the man people remember. The next rule is the deepest of all and the most important. Because without it, none of the others matter. Rule 6. Build a fortress within, become unshakable. Have you ever felt like your whole world revolved around one person? Their mood became your weather. Their attention, your oxygen. Their silence, your spiral. Zane had reached that point once. Before Stoicism, before self-respect, before stillness, there was a time when if Alina ignored his texts for a day, he couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't think straight. He built his entire emotional world inside a house he didn't own. And then one day she left. No explanation, no closure, just silence. And Zane collapsed, not physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, because he had built no fortress within. His happiness, his identity, his worth, all came from outside himself. That was the day he found Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, and one line hit him like a sword to the chest. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. Zane realized he had been waiting for others to give him peace, when peace was something he had to build for himself. So he began. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't fast. Every morning he wrote down his thoughts. Every night he reflected, did I live today from within, or did I chase something outside me? He created habits that built him up, not ones that distracted him. He meditated. He trained his body, his mind, and his focus. Slowly, her silence didn't sting. Her absence didn't echo. Her name stopped controlling his heartbeat. Because now he had built a fortress within, a place so strong that no breakup, no rejection, no ghosting could shake him. Let me ask you something real. Have you built your own fortress? Or are you still renting your peace from other people? Because here's the brutal truth. If your joy depends on their reply, if your self-worth depends on their attention, if your peace dies every time they walk away, then you're a prisoner and you've handed them the keys. But you don't have to stay there. You can start today. You can begin like Zane did, with one question. What part of me do I need to reclaim? Because when you build a mind that cannot be invaded, when you stop needing to be understood, when you become your own peace, your own light, your own approval, you don't chase anyone. They come to you, drawn by the gravity of your stillness. And if they don't, you're still whole, you're still strong, because you didn't build your empire in her arms. You built it in your soul. Closing moment. Stoic dominance in love and life. Now imagine applying these 6 rules in your love life. You stop reacting emotionally to games. You remain calm when she tests you. You don't explain yourself. You live with quiet confidence. You become a mystery she wants to unravel, not a problem she wants to fix. You attract with presence, not with words. Not by being loud, not by being flashy, but by becoming unshakably grounded. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.